Holy Joe. Totally did it on purpose. Can't tell. Try that again. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 427 of DrunkNerds podcast. I'm host, as always, I'm Tyler, and joining me with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
Oh man, I'll tell you what, I am doing pretty freaking all right.
Wait, wait. Got you going those ice drinks. Oh, they're so good.
Oh, dude, these things are freaking amazing. I'm trying a cherry limeade right now. I'm not sure how it tastes.
It's my second favorite. My number one is the apple one. What do you think?
Kind of like strawberry kiwi myself, but this is fine.
Hmm.
I usually drink like maybe one of these or something like that on occasion at night because if I do have like a little bit of a like an acid reflex, that like if I haven't drank a lot of water throughout the day, I need something that's gonna carbonate. But other than that, man, yeah, I'm doing pretty all right. I have been predominantly playing more of new Pokemon Snap. That game, I kid you not, is definitely a lot better of a game than I thought it was going to be.
Nice.
And quite honestly, when it comes down to it, the not just the graphical quality, but the focus of the game, I feel like is more akin of what the Pokemon series I feel like should be capturing, and that's going into like a specific region and stuff, seeing Pokemon in their natural environments and stuff, and then just all these craziness, all this other types of shit and stuff that can say and can happen, does happen. It feels more alive than say some of the gameplay that I've played through Pokemon Sword and Shield. that's that's actually pretty much of a given, man, because it's like I get the feeling that for some of the spin-off games of the Pokemon series, there is a lot more creativity and a lot more type of fleshing out that's done with some of the Pokemon creatures in and of itself,
Yeah.
than opposed to some of the mainline games. Because man, you can tell the difference. This is one of the best looking Pokemon games I've played. Even though it's not a mainline, it still looks fucking good for
Yeah.
what it is.
I've only put a few hours into it, but it runs a lot better than Sword and Shield did. Um,
Mm-hmm.
especially it has for the most part a very consistent frame rate, so
Yeah,
that helps.
but other than that, though, I've done a little bit more rearranging of some of my room. I actually went to my local J.C. Penney. They're going out of business. They're
Oh,
liquidating a whole bunch of stuff. I picked up. I went through and I picked up four small tables, right?
oh, nice.
So we're talking about the type of tables and stuff that are kind of closet size. It's like the whole main and purpose I want to try to do is expand my storage in my closet, but I can't get like a regular rack or anything else like that. And so while driving through near my workplace, because it's JC Penney is like pretty close to where my workplace is at, I see these tables out and about in the front of their store. I'm thinking to myself, well, those tables are small enough they could fit in my closet. So sure enough, I go inside. The guy that I talked to, very friendly guy, he's like, hey, if you're interested in like these two tables or something right here, hey, we have a couple more, blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. I end up buying two tables, two of these small tables, right? Get them home, put them both in my closet. I kid you not, man. It's like both of those tables fit with like barely like a half an inch to spare.
Nice.
They perfect set inside there. And so what did I do? I went there the next day, got two more of those small tables, but I'll tell you what, man, they were only like $10 a piece.
That's
Really,
awesome. Oh, good deal.
these were the type of tables that you would use, like say if you do like a changing room type of thing, or they're like on the display for clothes. You
Okay,
would have.
yeah.
These are the type of tables and stuff that had the veneer sort of finished to them, like on the sides and stuff, so they can be easily scratchable. But at the same time, they're mostly meant to display items more so than they were to like any major quality type of stuff. But the main purpose of them was I needed something to get some of my boxes, some of my crates that I have. Plus, I bought some of these half totes as well, so I have some of my Xbox 360 and some of my Xbox One games that are stored inside of them. And now it looks like I have a four tier rack inside of my closet. Because to put things in perspective, when I moved out from the other house I was living in, I had a double closet.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
I literally had the biggest closet in the house. So on the far left side of this closet, I'd have a rack that was built into the wall, right? And so I had enough space to where I could get my books, get my CDs, get my music and stuff, and everything else on this bookcase you see right here, it was nothing but my game stuff. But I had to get rid of a lot of stuff, but I still had a lot of shit left over for me to display, so I had to go through and do some interior decorating. So this is probably the cleanest this room has been since I moved into this house. But long story short, got enough room, got some good stuff going with this. Eh, and yeah, that's pretty much how my week's been going. So how have you been?
Doing okay. You know, we were talking before the show. It's been a pretty crazy week of work. Put a lot of hours in. Didn't have to work today, which is nice. It's Saturday night. I was recording this as always. Um, but didn't get a chance to play really any games during the week. Uh, sorry, there's a weird reflection in my window. It's kind of scared me a little bit. I think it was just a car driving by. Lights hit it weird. But no, but definitely played a bunch today. But it's been an okay week, you know. Overall, it's been pretty much. I mean, a little chilly in the morning, you know, but it's been pretty beautiful all week. And finally, the weekend gets here, and it's been feels like late October. You know, it's cold, rainy, super windy. You know, it's like 40s and 50s out right now, and crazy ass winds and shit. But it's okay. You know, yesterday was my birthday. Turned the big 3-2. Um,
Hey,
yeah.
that's right.
You know, getting old, definitely feeling it more and more every day. Not really a big birthday guy, never really have been. I, I, I you know, when I was like, it was cool when you're a kid because you got stuff, you know, but
Well,
because
yeah, of
you're a
course.
kid, you're just happy to get shit. But anymore, it's just really the only thing I ever want to do for my birthday is just not do anything. Um, which didn't happen, didn't get to happen this with my job. You know, it's delivering stuff. We have it's a crazy week. Just a lot of people ordering flowers for their moms and shit. So a lot of delivering. But you know, it was okay. Went over, had dinner with my parents and my mom and dad and my sister. They grilled some steaks and asparagus, which was awesome. Um, which is nice because I can't cook very well. Most shit I make is already like prepackaged shit. And you just got
Right.
you do like make a lot of shit out of boxes or a lot of same generic meals over and over again. So it was nice to kind of add something else into the meal. That wasn't something that's like comes in a box and you just gotta follow the instructions or something like that. So it's always nice when that happens. Um, they got me some for our. I showed Gables last week, but I got my family couldn't wait to show me. But I got a um, for people watching, it's a Switch case. It looks like a Switch, but it's actually a AirPod case for AirPods. So
Hmm.
my family bought me AirPods for I can wear for work, and then gave me a little looks like a little mini Switch to hold them in. So that was pretty cool. Um, so yeah, so it was a good birthday overall. You know, at least ended well, and then got to come home and uh, I was really tired. A long week. Just happy the weekend was here. Kind of crawling
Hmm.
through the day. Only just got to play a little bit of Resident Evil 8 yesterday, but really dove into it today. So that's been pretty good. Um, I did want to mention a few things off the top though. We are still in the process. People that may not know or don't remember or whatever are long story short, I don't want to go through the whole thing again. Our feed got shut down last week on May 1st, so I'm still in the process of getting all those set up. We're just waiting. I've put a thing out to get new channels on everything. Right now, we are on Spotify. We are on Audible. We're on a few places I've never heard of. We're on Podbean. That is our host for our podcast right now for the audio version. We're on there. Um, but yeah, so I'm still in the process of trying to get all those set up. It's really just a lot of waiting for them to get back to me at this point, and then I can do my part from there. But it's a lot of it's just waiting. Right now, um, are the only things that don't are not affected, are that we're not affected were our YouTube and our Twitch channel. So if you're listening to the audio version, if you want to try to stay on top, thank you for finding us. But we are on YouTube and Twitch. Just look up Drunk Nerds or Drunk Dashers podcast to find us. And if you were people have listened to us from the audio point, which 99.9% of you guys were audio listeners. Hopefully we can get those back. But if you found us, I appreciate it. Please go out and resubscribe to all those places. Leave us reviews. That's a good way to kind of get us back out. Kind of share it as well. Get us back up in the ranks. Show us some a little love. More people can find us to help fans find us again, and then bring some new ones in as well. So it's kind of sucks after 8 years, and finally really starting to see the last couple of years our numbers grow and get a good spot to kind of just be gone with not much notice and no way of telling our fans, hey, this is what's happening and all that. So like I said, working on it, but like every Saturday night, usually around 9, 10 Central Time, 7, 8 Pacific Time. We're on Twitch.tv/DrunkNerds Podcast. So follow on there, click the bell. They'll let you know. And if you can't watch us live, which is understandable, I'll usually just take that stream and put it right over on YouTube, and it'll go up usually overnight on youtube.com/drunknerds. So subscribe to us in that. Click the bell on that one as well, as you get notifications whenever we go live or we put up a new video. Sometimes we'll do Twitch streams of us playing games like we did. We streamed us playing all of It Takes Two, stuff like that. You'll get notifications for those as well. So yeah, we're still working on that. And another thing I want to mention, Gables, we are, as of this weekend, 6 months away from Extra Life. We are halfway there.
Yeah, we are.
So I just want to point that out. If people don't know or don't remember or just need a friendly reminder, Extra Life is a thing that we do every year. This is my 10th year. It'll be Gables' 9th year.
Yep.
We play games. It's usually the first Saturday of every November for 24 straight hours, raising money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. They have, I think this is year 12 for them, maybe year 11. Year 12. And so far they have raised over $75 million over that course of that time.
Man.
Yeah, we regularly now the last few years been hitting 10 plus million. I think last year, in a pandemic year, we break the record every year. Usually sometimes by maybe a million or less. Last year I think they broke it by 3 or 4 million, the old record. So I can't remember what the number is, but it was maybe 15 million or more dollars earned, which was incredible during a pandemic and everything as well. When not only people are hurting the most, but those kids needed it the most. So that was awesome. And so yeah, but kids always need help. There's always more kids, unfortunately, that need help. So it's a thing we do every year. We talk about it every year. And I just want to give a little quick, we're halfway there, reminder to go to extra-life.org, look it up, read about it. You can pick your hospital that you want to support. All the money that you earn goes to the hospital that you pick. You can pick any hospital in Canada or the United States. So Gables picks the one in Seattle. I picked the one in Iowa City. So yeah, if you can support those, or just tell a friend, someone that might be interested, share it, talk about it, whatever you do to help. If you have a podcast or Twitch or whatever out there, or just Twitter or whatever, just share it, talk about it. The more, I don't care if listeners donate to us. I would rather, if we can get 10, 15 people that listen to us start their own and earn their own money, and then start a channel of people just doing the same, that's even better to me. So yeah. And another thing, Gables, before we really get into the meat and potatoes of the show, I want to talk about something. It'd be kind of hard not to talk about, and I don't want to get into like like the rumor, or not the rumors, but like the here's what people are like trying to say on the internet. But I just want to talk about Giant Bomb for a minute.
Okay.
So I heard the news broke to me I was on my lunch break on I think Tuesday. Just saw people talking about it. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I went and listened, and I messaged you. I'm like, did you hear what happened? And yeah, you didn't know. And it was I think I watched I started listening to him regularly. I listened to him regularly for 8 years, and I had to take a year sabbatical in there because I just couldn't keep up with all my podcasts. Yeah. And their podcasts are very long. But about a year and a half ago, went back, started listening to him again. Been listening to him every week for, like I said, pretty much most of the last 9 years. And this past Tuesday, Brad, Vinny, and Alex. Brad and Vinny are two of the originals after Ryan and Jeff founded it. They've been there since the beginning. Alex joined in 2010. They all three announced that they were leaving as of yesterday. On Friday was their last day. So yeah, I don't want to get like speculation on why they're leaving, all that. There's so many rumors out there. It's pretty fun to listen to Beastcast and Vinny going in there, kind of talking about like this. We're not like, because there's like, oh, people, they probably left because they got bought by Red Ventures, and They're like, that's not the case. We're actually better off with Red Ventures than we were with CBS. Um, then just talking about Ben left at the beginning of the year, Abby left at the end of last year, and all that. But it's like they're in kind of a weird place where it's like Giant Bomb is never going to be the same again. They get three of the four that have been there since the beginning, outside of Ryan. Obviously, passed. We lost in
Right.
2011, I believe.
I don't
Um,
think it was like it was during the Fourth of July, like
yes,
the
Fourth of
after
July
that Fourth of
weekend.
July weekend or something, 2012, I think
Was
maybe.
2012? Yeah. So it was in that area, but yeah, he passed away on his honeymoon. During it was like July
Yeah.
2nd or something like that. He passed
Yep.
away. But yeah, so I mean, it's just like they were a revolutionary in the business of video games. And kind of they were the ones that kind of shot forward, kind of almost what we see for a lot of people today. Or and it's funny. I was kind of deep diving, going back, like listening to like favorite moment. I'm sure like a lot of people were going back looking at favorite moments of like Giant Bomb or.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of funny. There was I can't I'm not I'm going to butcher the quote, but Jeff Gertzman, who was kind of the face of Giant Bomb, um, had a quote in like 2008, 2009 when they first started Giant Bomb, and talking about like he was in. It's very accurate now. He's like eventually it seems like there's like gonna be a time, here soon, where it's like readers and fans or whatever will go to these websites not for the name of the website, not because IGN, not because GameSpot, because of the name on the byline, or the
Yep.
face on that review or whatever. And this is before YouTube was around, but it wasn't YouTube. It was this
Right.
brand new thing where like videos were less than 10 minutes. Um, and it was just more like just stupid home video shit that people would post up there. And we weren't seeing a lot of, there wasn't podcasts like there were. And these guys really kind of saw where things were going. Like didn't really see what they weren't seeing where things were going. They just created a path. And this is where we're going, and that's where things went. And you see nowadays, like very much what he said is true. Where it's like nowadays people, you wouldn't think if you were leaving a big website like that or a magazine, you were going to be a producer, or you were going to be a PR person. Like a lot of people that like Jeff even talked about really well in on Giant Bombcast, about like, because like Vinny, Alex, Brad, it's not like they all three they don't have like, they're not leaving for their job. It's not like there's no contract ending. They're not getting this big payout. They're not millionaires. They're just Vinny talked about was more like a burnout and just exhaustion of all the
Yeah.
hours you put in, all the work you put in, but also being on your net is very exhausting, even for
No
something like video
shit.
games. Dealing with, I mean, it's the vocal minority we always talk about, but the vocal minority is the loudest, unfortunately. And so yeah, it was just it sounds like a lot of burnout, and like you've seen a lot of people like in video games
Yeah.
talk about, like especially like podcasters out front, they're on camera and shit. Like it's exhausting, not only the work but also the feedback and all that. So it sounds like it's more just the three of them. It's I think it's just different because three of them are leaving at the same time. It's not just one leaving. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know. It's just I want to talk about, because it's like you look at like, I think for a lot of people like that are doing very successfully, like an Easy Allies or Kind of Funny or What's Good Games or um, Last Stand Media or whatever, like you name it, like they wouldn't be around if it wasn't for them. Or like what's the Angry Joe Gaming, stuff like that. Like those guys wouldn't be around if it wasn't for like these guys. Or maybe they would be eventually, but not where they were when they were. And like it wouldn't be as easy as it was, or there wouldn't be the platform like it was. Like they created that path. They are revolutionaries. They are a dying breed. Like these guys, like a lot of these guys we're talking about, they're big today. Like they came into it and it was already like that, and they
Yep.
obviously, I'm not saying it was it was easier for them, but like they worked their ass off and got there. But it's these guys created those pathways for a lot of people, and it's it's bittersweet. I'm happy for them, and hopefully they're happier. But it's the gaming world's not gonna be the same without the three of them.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
fairly true. Honestly, if it weren't for a podcast and a website like Giant Bomb to begin with, going off the heels of where they were when they first started that, when they first started it, going off from the realms of being at GameSpot, I mean, hell, with that whole debacle, the Kane and Lynch stuff, it would
yeah,
not have led to the creation of Giant Bomb, which
yeah,
becoming so influential, and not just in the gaming landscape in general, but also in terms of even for like indie podcasts and stuff that kind of field a lot of that stuff from that style. We're talking about old sites that we used to go through and venture like a sarcastic gamer.
Mm.
If not for the popularity of Giant Bomb and like have four coworkers slash friends and stuff just collaborate together and stuff, you wouldn't have all these indie sites going through doing the models you like you said before. You wouldn't have things in prominent like say like a kind of funny games or Last Stand Media or What's Good or
Or a
whatever
Patreon.
type.
They
Or
create
yeah,
those
or
things.
even like certain things like Patreon and stuff, because Giant Bomb led the way inside of this, not just the gaming like radio journalism sort of like stuff, but they were doing things at the time that people take for granted today, like on YouTube or on Twitch, where they were recording themselves playing games and doing these quick looks, where it's like they came from a time where if it was like say 10 minutes, like hey, nobody wants to watch 10 minutes worth of like game
Yeah.
footage and stuff. Obviously we look at that and we laugh at that today because you have a whole entire website in Twitch where people go watch their favorite YouTubers or favorite Twitch streamers play through an entire game, like maybe a 4 or 5 hour game live on stream and stuff, and you're like sitting back and you're watching, you're kind of treating it like you would a TV show or like a
Yeah.
movie or something like that, where it's like you're binge watching this person play this game because you like the personality, you like the content they produce, which is more or less why people were so engrossed inside of Giant Bomb to begin with, because you had four likable personalities, four likable dudes, Jeff, Ryan, and stuff, those two co-founders and stuff like that. It's like they were long inside the games media long before even with Gertzman, man, right? Even before like GameSpot and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a part of like all sorts of various other tech stuff. But what
Like
I'm saying
PC
is,
Gamer and shit.
yeah,
Like
PC
early two
Gamer,
thousands.
even the obscure stuff when him and Sessler would be hosting GameSpot TV back
Yeah.
in the mid to late '90s. That shows my age because I used to watch that shit. But it's like with a website and with the influence of a Giant Bomb in general, it shows you like the duration. It's like they've even said it well themselves. This is like a position and type of things they did not expect to last it this long in that regards inside of its current iteration and stuff. Sure, they were bought by CBS. They have another distributor and stuff that most recently bought them, and it seems like a better deal than say CBS. But at the same time, it's like I look at it this way: it's like the guys that are leaving, Brad, Vinny, Alex, long mainstays, have been around for quite a long time at Giant Bomb. At the same time, they've had a lot of good, memorable moments and
Yeah.
stuff in regards to providing a lot of enjoyment, a lot of things. But they do touch upon one thing that's very serious too, which is like burnout inside of not only just the whole gaming journalism sort of thing, but it's like it just inside of the entire social media on top of the internet stuff and also on top of all the shit that happened during the COVID stuff in 2020, and then everything else magnifying itself on top of the years that they've done inside the games journalism stuff and doing quick looks and doing reviews and doing this. They've never really had that type of a break away from that stuff. So it's like people can look into it saying it's something bigger than what initially was, but yet I feel like a lot of the valid points that they were making in terms of burnout are legit because hell, if you've been inside of one specific field for so many years and stuff, and all of a sudden it's like you get that itch, you get that burnout feel, like you don't want to go through and pursue it, or you just feel apathetic about even going through and doing things that you once enjoy, that's a clear fire sign you need to take yourself away from it and like just distance yourself away from it for a while. Because honestly, if you truly love something, you gotta distance yourself and you gotta go through and have that fire just get back again. It may be a week or two from then, it could be another year or two from then.
Yeah.
It's like I don't feel like these guys are gonna be away from games, like the game stuff in general. I feel like that they just need they're just doing a whole bunch of like just random stuff to get their minds at ease or just get themselves going in terms of have a large break doing what the hell they want to do, especially in terms of Viddy with his kids and stuff and his family and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. But man, it's sad that these three guys are leaving, but at the same time, it's like people forget to mention is like, yeah, Giant Bomb's still there. Guys like Jeff are still there. They may get like new writers, new personalities and stuff that people may want to go through and invest into. What people are kind of misinterpreting is it's like Giant Bomb, the site itself is not dead. It's just changing and evolving with the times. And
Yeah.
these three focal point guys, they have done like nearly everything that they want to do inside these stuff, and so they want to venture into other stuff. It's just kind of that weird in between where it's like games media in and of itself. There's a lot of different changes going through. A lot of things are dying because of like a various amount of rising of like specific things. Like say YouTubers, Twitch streamers, and stuff that are very popular doing this and doing that. That people are going. The audience is going to them for a lot of various content too, instead of like going to the traditional mainstream like gaming websites, say like a GameSpot or an IGN. Because quite honestly, it's the simple fact that not a lot of people want to go through and read or watch a like an actual legitimate games journalist review a game. They want to get like a Joe, like an average Joe sort of perspective of things. Like the people that are actually going to go through, buy it, play through it without being forced in terms of a deadline or enforced in terms of like speeding through things and, you know, having maybe a skewed perspective of it.
Yeah, I
But
also think. Sorry to cut you off. I also think that part of it is a lot of people are like, yeah, those reviews, like like I still watch reviews. I love like Easy Allies. Brandon Jones is
right,
like to me he's like the voice of gaming. Like he's got the perfect voice for what he does. But from Easy Allies. But I think a lot of it too is people like the long form discussions now more than anything. Where like it's
yes,
like reviews, like YouTube reviews or just like like the 10-minute, 8-minute reviews, and then the articles like they're really good at getting bullet points. But like I've talked about it before, and I think a lot of people are the same way. Where it's like I like to hear 3 or 4 people just sit together and have a discussion, like
yeah,
whether it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, like breaking down and talking about like without spoiling it obviously, but like having full like they played the game, they beat the game, or like the game was so bad they couldn't beat it, or hey, and just the honesty of like sometimes you listen to reviews like I've only played for a few hours, but like kind of like we do, like like we talk about it. It's like I've only been able to put this much. Excuse me, I'm very burpy. This IPA is making me very burpy. I apologize. But it's like we talk about. We'll jump on like last week. You and I, like, you only been able to put a few hours in a Pokemon Snap. I only been able to put an hour in it, but the game had only been out for a day at that point. So it's just like I think a big part of that is changing, and we've seen that. Like now we have like like an IGN and like GameSpot. They have podcasts. They have Nintendo Voice Chat. Or they have Podcast Beyond, or they have Achievement. Like we see these that changing as well. I think it's and then we have those personalities which even they're doing, and we see it's like people can just leave and like we see people like leave GameSpot, IGN, these big sites all the time. There's like I'm just gonna go stream on Twitch now, or like we'll have these like little side gigs that we do too, but like they're just they're they use that platform to build their brand and they move on and do something else, and some still
mm,
go do PR, but they always talk about like Jeff talked about it was like for a lot of people they go in, they spend 6-8 years, they until like their early 30s, doing journalism or being in the that side of it, and then the big plan is to move on and become a producer or do like I
yep,
said, be the public relations person or go help write on stuff like on video games, contract stuff. But it's like I mean, like I said, like these guys like been there for 10, 14 years and probably have their 5, 10 years into it already. It's like Vinny, I thought described it really, really well in one of the. I think it was a Beastcast. I was listening to it, where he's like, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I think we just, we just play games on a stream all day." But it's like for every hour we're on a stream, there's 5 hours of us dealing with something else, whether it's in inner fighting or dealing with shit up top or just trying to fix something like an issue with the stream or trying to figure something out, like especially work from home and have to like redo the entire business in a matter of like a week essentially. It's just
mm,
yeah, or just like even like talking about like the process of doing an E3 and getting that whole setup. Like that's like they talk about like they're playing that shit in January for something that's in June. So I mean yeah, it's just I mean it's I just want it'd be hard to talk about because like they're the they're the peak, they're the mountaintop. That's the dream for anybody that does a podcast or has any idea of wanting to be, you know, wants to be in this business that wants to do that and make money and not only make money but like be somebody in this business. Like that's I think that's what everybody strives for. I think that's what everybody would love to be is like, and you see it like just like in like how great it is and like building and like the people they hire. It's like Abby, Ben, Dan, Drew, uh, Austin. It's just like all these incredible people. Patrick, uh, uh, they get to bring in. It's yeah, it's always top notch. Jan now and Jeff, so yeah, it's as a fan and just somebody that's a fan of that industry and kind of know like I love for the most part what gaming is right now and like especially like podcasts and YouTube and stuff like that. Like I like where it is for the most part, and it's just like yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't think they're gonna be gone in this gaming sphere forever. You look at like Colin Moriarty, he left for a couple of years, and he's like, I'm never doing this again. I want to. I hate games now because after a decade or more in this game industry, and then 18 months later, he's right back in it, and he's doing his own thing. So I don't think it's a gone for everything. But yeah, like I said, I feel like it's something that we need to talk about because we're fans for a long time. And it's a big deal in the industry of podcasting and just video games. So,
Mm.
but yeah, time to finally get in half an hour into the show. What we're actually here for, and that's to talk about video games in the news. I guess this it's news, but to get into some of the topics. Gables, you messaged me on Monday
Yes.
saying you wanted to talk about this, and I know when you come to me and say I want to talk about this, I know you're passionate about it. So you want to talk about everything going on with the Returnal reviews, and I know you're not on social media anymore besides Instagram, but oh boy, it's I have a rule I've had for myself for a very long time about don't read the comments on anything, even if it's just
Mm.
something I know I don't like, if I disagree with or whatever. I still won't read the comments, even if I know I'm going to agree with the comments. I just don't read the comments because it's just the mindset's going to put me in. But I could not. Sometimes you gotta look at the mess, and this is one of them, and just some of the stupidity around the fans, I think. And then some of the issues also with maybe some reviewers, but mostly the fans. But I'm curious, what exactly did you want to talk about with the Returnal reviews?
Well, let's see. In regards to some of the return reviews that I had initially went through and just decided to piece upon and stuff, there was a video that I was watching on YouTube like around that same time during Monday where there are reviewers, not specifically naming which though, but there are some that have quintessentially tried playing the game, but like not necessarily beating it before like actually going through the posted reviews. I think my initial reaction, why I went through and I messaged you, I'm just trying to remember now back to Monday when I initially did, just to try to remind
It was
myself.
months ago at this to turn our mindset. So
Well, honestly, with how busy like certain general life is and stuff like
yeah,
that, it's like now what next in this
yeah,
regards. But no, the initial thing I wanted to convey the message and stuff. Inside of some of these returnal reviews and stuff, there are some reviewers that are not even initially going through and finishing the game before actually posting a lot of the reviews. Which then, in of itself, it's like I understand Returnal is not like say a reviewer friendly game by any means because you have to
extremely
spend a
hard.
lot of time in terms of getting through this initial process and some of that. But yet, I feel like it's a pretty dishonest if you're trying to go through and review a game, you can't even be bothered to go through and actually beat the entirety of the game before giving an actual, say, a perspective or review about it. Especially if you don't experience the entirety of what the overall experience is first before kind of posting on that. And that kind of feels like I kind of feel that paints, say, Returnal inside of like a almost like a bad light sort of a way because here you have people that are not even going through and posting like say competent say reviews. And I think the initial review from this was actually from like a note, maybe like a noteworthy website. I'm sorry if I'm not really completely like full of like say sources and facts and stuff because I'm just pretty much like paraphrasing about what I initially saw from like a random YouTube video this past Monday. But I kind of feel like in regards to reviews like that, where you're posting in general about a video game, it kind of views that video game in a bad light and not on top, not just paints that game kind of a bad light, but kind of paints themselves as a reviewer as sort of a bad light. Because if you're going to go through and you're trying to review a specific game, you got to at least have a couple of different facts worth noting here. One, at least have a criteria if you at least beat the main game. You don't have to complete, say 100%, but at least have it in that regards, have your focal points, have your own types of like details in regards to what you've actually liked or what you actually don't like. But if you initially go through with the perspective of I'm just gonna go ahead and post a review and stuff like that, and just try to make up a whole bunch of shit and stuff like that, and just insert it inside and call that a review and just label those like, oh hey, well, this and that and this and that, without adequate things, or kind of stealing content from like say other reviewers, so like a Philip Mewson sort of shit, then it's like then there's really no point of you actually going through and posting a review.
Yeah.
But the whole thing about that review stuff, it was like I kind of felt like it paints like Returnal as a disservice in that regards because though I have not played the game in and of itself, and I do want to eventually, it's just that when you have overall review of a product in general, the average person looking at the review expects the reviewer to do at bare minimum finish the game.
Yeah. I agree with that for like 99% of the time.
Right.
God damn, this IPA is so carbonated. Uh, but I don't think 100% of the time do you need to beat a game. Obviously, there's some games you just they're endless, you know.
Mm.
But for like a game like this where it can be beaten, like I think, like if somebody were to put out a Resident Evil 6 review and didn't beat the game, and the
Right.
whole point of the game, the review was the game was so bad I couldn't beat it. Like I didn't want to play it anymore. That's fine. Like to me, that's if the point of the game, the point of that review is this game is so bad. I did not want to play. It's like I didn't put 2 hours. I didn't like it. It's like I put, unless it's a 4 hour game, I guess. But like if it's something like what Resident Evil 6, like you could probably beat all three campaigns in like 15 hours, 16 hours, maybe 15 to 18 hours. But if you put 10 hours in like this stuff, this is trash. Like
Right.
I would totally get it. Just using Resident Evil 6 as an example. There's a Pitter Pot, another one. If someone played
Right.
played that game, you could probably beat it in like 5 hours. It's like you put 2 hours in, like this game is garbage. Like
Exactly.
that's fine. Like
Or
if the point of your review is this game is so bad I didn't beat it, that's fine. I get that. Like that makes sense. I think it's definitely if it is, if you're doing reviews and it's like if it's not like you're not a contractor or this isn't a side gig for you, like this is your full time job. I feel like that. I mean, unless you're not good enough, you can't beat the game. Then I guess that's fine. In a sense where like because Returnal is a game that is a lot of it is not a lot of it, but a good chunk of it is luck of getting certain things
Mhm.
or things working in your favor. But also, it's a very difficult game. It's like I know if you can give me a month probably to review Dark Souls or something, I just couldn't beat it just because I couldn't beat it because I'm not good enough to beat the game. Um, and that could be my full time job for a month, and I probably could, whatever. But anyways, I get that from but yeah, like I think as if that's your job, and I'm not trying to say, oh well, you just play video games. I know that's like we just talked about Giant Bomb, like that's they have full time jobs on top of that. But like
right.
if you are, but if like you are like time is set aside for your work day to play these games, and like especially Returnal where it's a 30-hour game, and say you have a couple weeks to do it,
Right.
and the time is set aside for you to do it. I feel like you should probably beat the game. I mean, but I thought it's nuts. Like the reviews, the I forgot, and I'm sure we touched on this, but it's like I thought fanboyism, or maybe there was just it went away over the last decade or so, or I mean the internet's just bigger now. I don't know. Because I remember like I didn't see this shit. I don't remember seeing this shit during when the Xbox One and PS4 came out, but like the last like 9 months, console fanboyism is back and it's rearing its ugly head. And I am a PlayStation leaning guy. I will admit that, but I mean I because I play everything on PlayStation first, and then I play the exclusives on my Xbox Series S or if it comes to Game Pass, I play on Series S, and I play the Nintendo exclusives on Nintendo. I play them there, obviously. But man, the outrage, and this is before Returnal came out.
Right.
People were like ripping people apart, and like, oh man, like Reddit's the worst. Like I said, there's like, I have made my Twitch or my not my Twitch, my Twitter, to the point where like I don't have to see a lot of bullshit. Like it's pretty much positive, and it's like it's like the people on there are positive, and it's just like it's news, which obviously sometimes news isn't positive, but it's like it's news of like video game news, wrestling news, sports news, whatever, and then positive people on my Twitter, and that's what I see for the most part. But it's just like, god damn, the outrage about this game. Like Venture Beat Jeff Grubb, someone I talk about all the time. He's
Hmm.
the king of leaks. Um, but he reviewed Returnal and he gave it of all the big sites, gave it the lowest score of 3 out of 5, which
Okay.
is difficult. He's like, it's not maybe he's like it's not a 6 out of 10. He's not saying, but it's a 3 out of 5 on their scale. A 3 out of 5 is still a good game.
Well,
Even
yeah,
on
of
an
course.
IGN scale, that's a 20. I think it's a 10 point scale. A 6 out of 10 is a good game still, but as you know, a 6 out of 10, they look at it as like a D. It's barely passing, but and that's a Metacritic and all that's a different discussion for a different day. But man, like my God, the the outrage. It's funny. Like I was thinking when I saw this stuff, like he was getting attacked, and people were like, the same guy gave Returnal a 3 out of 5, also gave the medium a 3 out of 5. How can you say uh, this is a medium, or you say medium Returnal that are just as good? He's like, and then the people went back looked at one of the people on the website VentureBeat, Mike Minotti. He talked about. He's like, I went and looked it up. Like he's being attacked for giving a medium a 3 out of 5. He didn't review the medium. In fact, the website didn't review the medium. There is no
Wow.
review for the medium on their website, and like it's just like it's now it's facts on the internet. It's just that's how the internet is. People just like make shit up at a certain point, and now it's factual. But yeah, it's not. It's funny. Like I was thinking about, like I was looking at this and I was just like, I haven't seen like review shit doesn't happen very often. And it's like the fanboyism is just fanboys are the worst. Uh, Toxic fanboys, because like I admit that I'm fanboy about certain shit, and I try to admit that, be upfront about it. Like when Kojima does anything, like and people that have been listening for a while know how many times I played Death Stranding 3 or 4 times and put 10 hours into it. I put like 30 something hours in that game, trying to convince myself that game is good, and it's not. It's just not. But where it's like I was thinking about like Cyberpunk. It was so nuts when like people were like, I remember he Jeff Grubb also gave Cyberpunk a 3 out of 5, and a lot of places were giving it like 8 out of 10s and shit like that, 8.5s, and people were before the game came out attacking them for giving it such low scores, and then the game came out and it was like, but they played on like because they CD Projekt Red only gave them PC codes and purposely didn't give them console codes and made them all these promises. We're gonna fix this and this on day one, and then the game came out and it was broken as shit. And then everybody that was attacking them 2 days ago for putting out two negative reviews were attacking them for how positive the reviews were. And it's like the same people, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with us? Like, I understand like.
Mm,
This is video. Like we bitch and moan about video games because we love them, and I get like
right.
it's like I just don't. I don't know. I can't. Like I try not to
Well,
be a toxic person. Like I especially as I'm getting older, I try to be more positive about things. And like I mean, I still bitch and moan about things on here, and like things that upset me, I still talk about. But for the most part, I try to bring a different. I feel like um, I have become more positive on this show. I mean, obviously, there's still times where I'm a grumpy old bastard, but I try to always, like I said, even with like Twitter and all that, like I've tried to, and I've just taken like all the trying to take as much negativity as possible. And like maybe that's I don't know. Maybe there's some negatives in that. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just
well, at the
fanboys
end of the
suck.
day, even with like the review of like say Jeff Grubb with Returnal and stuff, and even as far back as what is it, 2005, 2006, when Jeff Kurtzman actually put the 8 out of 10, I think, for Twilight Princess, and
Oh
the whole
yeah,
debate when that goes around from back then, and even for reviews back then, back now.
yeah,
It that regards, there's still fanboys, there's still opinions. At the same time, it's like it's one person's opinion about a specific game, and if that doesn't match yours and stuff, especially if you haven't played the game or you feel like you have interest in the game, so what?
yeah,
It doesn't really matter in terms of you changing someone's opinion to try to match your own or trying to say flame someone in regards to, oh, okay, well, they don't like this game and I don't believe this game should deserve this score. I mean, honestly, you can think that way, but at the same time, it's like without having played the game yourself or without having done a lot of different things, it's like there really isn't any reason to go through and chastise the person for expressing their opinions in regards to what game or even form of media they review in
yeah,
that regards.
yeah,
Now, what's worth say, criticizing a reviewer for is if, say, they're disingenuous in terms of what they are presenting for the review. Like, say, if they went and they were paid for review, they didn't say that they were going and getting like all these positive stuff, from like a gaming company in order to try to boost the review scores. Which, yeah, that has happened with some in the past. But in that regards, there are times when it's credible to go through and critique someone that has done reviews for media. But in general, it's like if somebody gives a review and they don't like a game or they don't like something and they give it like a 3 out of 5 or a 6 out of 10 or whatsoever, I mean, hey, that's one person's opinion.
Yeah.
All that matters is you as the consumer. If you like something, you bought it and you enjoyed it, then it's good. There's no need to go through and just, you know, bitch and moan about it.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like keep sorry to keep this going, but it's like so I there's a handful of video game podcasts and video game people that I support on Patreon every month. Kind of funny is one of them, and I listen to a majority of their content and like they did a Gamescast, their weekly video game podcast, and they did a review. They did like their Resident Evil 8 review, and they had Brittany Brombacher from What's Good Games and Blessing and Greg and Tim were all on there. All four of them had beaten the game, and they were talking about the game. And Tim loved it. Blessing and Greg, they were like, yeah, it's okay. Like, but they're not big Resident Evil fans. They admit that, but like they think it's fine. Greg said it didn't really click for him, but he still enjoyed it. And Brittany, she was on the Resident Evil showcase stuff. She was the host of both of those. Um, been a fangirl number one of Resident Evil games. Reads of the books, all that. Super fan. Talked about. She's like, I love the first half. The second half didn't really click for me. And it was funny because like the complaints they always get about the reviews is that when they do these reviews is that they all agree too much or they're too positive about shit or whatever. And on this one, Blessing and Greg were like, yeah, it was okay. And then, Brittany was even like, I liked it, but I didn't love it. And then Tim was like, I really liked it. And then, like, the comments blew up as, like, why are Blessing and Greg even on this? It's like, okay, wait. So we went from we agree too much to now, if you don't like it, then why are you even talking about it? It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that doesn't
It,
make any sense to me. I mean,
yeah.
in that point of view and that perspective and stuff, you actually have almost a balanced way of
Yeah.
forms of opinion and stuff. You can't just have one that's good, one that's bad. I mean, you're gonna have multiple different types of opinion of a game, regardless of who plays it. So
Yeah.
in that case and scenario, yeah, I don't understand what the people want.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know why we're turning the bitch about the internet podcast right now, but I mean that's just like my biggest. I can't. There's a term for it, and I can't think of the term, but it's like the people don't. They just want to. They don't want to hear, even if right, wrong, or different, whatever. They don't want to hear differing opinions of something, even if they haven't played the fucking game yet. It's not even out yet at that point. Like the reviews drop when this podcast dropped Wednesday. The game didn't come out till Friday, but it's just like people don't want it. They want to hear things that clarify or cement their feelings or their opinions, but they don't want to hear differing ones. And it's like I understand. Like I want people to love all the same things that I love too. Or like if Metal Gear Solid 6 came out and I heard people were saying, yeah, it was okay. Like I'd be upset. I would not with them, but I'd be upset. But it's like
Yeah,
I wouldn't be mad. But I don't know. It's just I don't know. I listen to a lot of different podcasts, video games and sports and whatever. But it's like I love listening to like so many different ones because I love because I like to hear different opinions, even if I don't agree with them. Even if like but I like to hear the argument about those. And like I feel like sometimes it makes me sometimes better as a podcaster. Like I'm not trying to come up with like, oh, okay, I like that. I'm gonna take that and put it in here. But it's like I like hearing their ideas, hearing those arguments, even if they're not on the podcast together, but just hearing those arguments separately. So I can it helps me format my own opinion sometimes and like hear it from a different perspective as well. And I just, yeah, I feel like someone phrased it really well on Twitter. Like that was a really good tweet the other day. It was like, I can't, I'm going to butcher it, but it was like, there's more information like out there than ever before. And yet we are dumber than we've ever been before.
yeah.
So maybe not dumber than we've ever been, but I mean, it's obviously probably blown out of proportion a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Anyways, we need to get to some news here, Gables. Let's get some positive news. What's up about how Nintendo is fucking killing it, man? So I have a couple different articles here, both these from Venture Beat. It was kind of nicer. I usually hate when I always talk about how I love now Nintendo breaks down everything so
Hmm.
well for how all their games sell, their units sell, break everything down super well. But I always hate when I go on these websites and they'll break them up over like 10 articles to give you like, so you have to click on each one. I understand like it's a business thing. I make get ad revenues, but VentureBeat only did 2 articles this time, which I love. Thank you so much. One breaking down the individual sales of all their games, and one breaking down about the sales of the Nintendo Switch. So jumping into it here, the Switch as of March 31st, for the end of the fiscal year, has sold 84.5 and 59 million consoles, 587 million copies of software, and that has outdistanced the 3DS, which sold 76 million systems and 387 million copies of software. Um, so yeah, that's nuts. Um, let's see here. Nintendo forecast that it would sell in there 26.5 million consoles in the next year, ending March 31st, 2022. So that means there'll be around 110 million if they hit that this time next year, or well, as of April 1st, 2022. Um, which I think right now that puts them in the top 5 of all time for a console sold. Or no, if they get to the 110, that put them in top 5. I think behind PS2, Game Boy, because Nintendo combines Game Boy and Game Boy Color together, which still bothers me to this day. Uh,
Right.
but it's like what PS4, PS2, Game Boy Color,
Let's
and Wii.
see. Yeah,
I think of the
exactly. I think those are the consoles
not
that
in
are
that order,
left.
but
Not in that order and
I
stuff,
think
but
it's
yeah,
what
it goes
PS2,
clear. We have
Game
PS2
Boy.
that's like number one, and then you
Yep.
have Wii. I know the Game Boy Color line is definitely there. The original PlayStation is there, but at the same point, it's like for the overall sales and stuff, this is a lot more than anyone even thought the Switch was going to do. No one thought that, given 4 or 5 years, nearly 5 years of like the
4 years.
Switch, yeah, 4 years.
Yeah.
That's what you said. They did
March
this all and
2017.
outsold the 3DS in 4 years' time. It shows you how successful they were in terms of not only advertising, but in terms of how they were able to get things into perspective in order to avoid entirely what they did with the Wii U and the cross generational stuff with that. But it also brings up the possibility, and I firmly believe now they're going to surpass the Wii's lifetime sales in less time than the Wii was on the market.
Yeah, I need to look up the sales numbers for that because I know the PS4 is in 4th place right now,
Yeah.
with about 115 million sold. So, but I mean, so they won't quite hit that because you gotta imagine the PS4, even though the PS5 is out, it's probably gonna still sell a few million or so maybe in the next year. But on top of that, this is just between April 1st of 2020 and March 31st of 2021. Animal Crossing sold 20.85 million units. Um, Mario Kart 8 sold 10.62 million units, and its 4th year on the market, eighth
Wow.
year or 7th year on the market if you include the Wii U version. Um, and the Ring Fit Adventure has sold 7.38 million copies in that 12-month span, putting it at over 10 million in its lifetime. And that came out, I think, in March or February of 2020, so right before
Yep.
the pandemic. Or no, it was the year before. It was 2019. It came out, and that thing just it sold 3 million in its first basically year and change on the market, and then the last year it sold 7.4 million. Um, I wanted to find something. They broke it down, how many were Switch Lights and how many were. I should have highlighted it. I don't know why I didn't. Um, sorry, here I'm just trying to scroll and see if I can find it. I can't find it. But it was like something like I think around 20 million of those 86 are Switch Lights, so they're selling super well.
Right.
And that's Switch Lights have been on the market since September of 2019. That's a year and a
Yep.
half basically in the market. And then here is I want to break down the some of the sales numbers for the Switch games. So now there are 36 games that have surpassed 1 million copies sold. 22 of those are Nintendo games. 14 are third-party sellers. And someone, Jeff Grubb, speaking of just him a little bit ago, he was trying to figure out those 14 games that are third party that have. He's like, well, okay, there's probably what 5 Just Dance games that have broken that number. Hades, Mario and Rabbids is technically a third party game.
Yep.
Um, and there was a couple other he had. So he kind of figured out like 8 or 9 of them. But so now so here's like they kind of broke down here in this article here. The Switch's 10 million seller club. We have number one, of course, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 35.4 million. Animal Crossing at 32.63 million. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate 23.84 million. Breath of the Wild 22.2 million. Sword and Shield 21 million. Mario
Yep.
Odyssey at 20.8 million. Super Mario Party at 14.8 million. Let's Go Pikachu at 13.2. Splatoon 2 12 million. Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe at 10 million. Ring Fit Adventure just hit the 10 million mark. And then we have also a list here of million seller clubs. So Mario 3D All Stars finally final sales numbers at 9 million. And just 8 months on the market, 7 months on the market
Yep.
because it's no longer available. Mario 3D World with just about came out in February, so about 7 weeks on the market, already at 5.6 million. Luigi's Mansion 3, look at this little motherfucker, 9.6 million. Um, Here, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity at 3 million, Pikmin at 2 million, Mario Maker at 7, Mario Kart Live, that weird kart track, you make your own track,
Yeah.
is at 1.2, Link's Awakening at 5.5. So yeah, I mean, obviously just more Nintendo killing. I just, like I said, I'm a kind of a numbers nerd, but I just love how Nintendo breaks down, especially just how successful they've been. They have two at over 30 million. They have one, two, three, four, five, six of them at 20 million plus. So yeah, just incredible. I think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, if you include Mario Kart 8's Wii U and Deluxe sales, I think it puts them over 40 million copies sold.
Wow.
So yeah, that is fantastic, making it the number one selling Mario Kart game of all time. I believe Mario Kart Wii U was at or Mario Kart Wii was like around the 37, 38 million seller mark.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, just doing incredible. Gables, what's your thoughts seeing some of these numbers?
To be perfectly honest with you, I knew that a lot of these games would be successful. Honestly, the Switch being successful as it is, yeah, it's no surprise to me. But seeing how much of a success the system is, on top of how well all these games have been selling. I mean, hell, Mario Kart 8 was on the Wii U. It was limited to the
12
to
million.
how many people were inside there, which is close to about 13 million people.
Yeah, that's 12.8.
But
Yep.
at the same time, it's like that just shows you how much a good Mario Kart game does on Nintendo platforms. If and this is part of the reason why they usually do it like maybe once a generation, because it's like that one game will cycle through throughout the entire generation and will literally skyrocket up to almost like say GTA sort of levels
Yeah.
in terms of a generation. But very surprised to see how well Animal Crossing and Mario Kart 8 did in general in that regards. Definitely interested seeing like Luigi's Mansion 3 doing fucking phenomenal in terms of its sales and stuff. Of course, the Super Mario 3D All Stars stuff that should have never been taken off the market. That sells itself when
Mm-hmm.
essentially old Mario games, some of the best Mario games on top inside of this one complete package and stuff sells itself.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
literally, yeah,
sorry to cut you off, but you could argue that it probably sold better in that time frame because of that timeline. But
yeah,
overall, it probably would have sold a lot more copies if it was just out there forever. But go on.
exactly. But it's just like what I was saying and stuff. It's like for copies of that game, if you haven't got it now, if you own a Switch and stuff, and you see physical copies at your local retailers like a Walmart, like a Target, like a Best buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, they may be like retro Mario games and stuff, but these are for people of all ages, quintessentially. You're getting some of the three best of like the platforms past. Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy. I mean, hell,
2 out of 3 good games there.
depending upon who you talk to. Yes, two,
Yeah.
2 out of 3 good games. But I know at my Walmart there is still like about a good solid maybe 6 or 7 copies left.
Why didn't you buy them?
I
I mean,
have mine.
you could be
I have
millionaire right now,
one.
Gables. You got a Pokemon. You got a Charizard sitting there, and you got 6 or 7 fucking Mario 3D All Stars. What the hell are you doing?
Apparently, I'm sitting on a gold mine, not even knowing it.
Yeah,
But
you son of a bitch. I'll I'll fucking Apple Pay you the goddamn money. You go buy them for me.
but yet, man, I'm just happy that all these games are selling well on the Switch and that the Switch is a successful console because this is what I've wanted for like the past good solid like ever since the Wii ended and stuff. Towards the end of that cycle is just consistent console where I play a lot of great first party Nintendo games and then have a form of third party support akin to say an NES or a Super Nintendo. I mean that's what I've wanted and that's what the Switch is.
Yeah, yeah, it's incredible. It's like only I think it's gonna get better. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, especially if the Switch Pro rumors of it coming out either at the end of this year or early next year are true. Like, yeah, they're definitely gonna hit that 26 million mark as long as they can make them. Obviously, they're dealing with the semiconductor shortage, but I wanted to stick with Nintendo news here. So Nintendo announced their next game that's gonna be coming out on June 10th or 11th. I can't remember, but it is called Game Builder Garage. Um, it is a basically like a I'm just gonna read it here. So from Nintendo here, learn to make games from the minds of Nintendo. It's a guided lesson, and cute creators are designed to help you create a multitude of gaming experiences. Um, it's designed to teach visual game programming by connecting creatures called Nodin. I believe I say it. There are dozens of Nodin in the Game Builder Garage, each with its own unique function. Lessons will be available to teach you the basic. Lessons will be available to teach you the basics of gaming design, with free programming mode available for those who want to go the wild. Want to go wild. Sorry. Um, so yeah, this is coming out on June 11th, and I believe it's gonna be $30. There will be a physical edition you can buy as well in stores. Um, so yeah, we both watched the trailer for this one. Gables, what's your thoughts when you saw this trailer?
To be perfectly honest, I was kind of surprised to see Nintendo actually going this route in terms of a game release. You know, it's like you don't really get like an aspect of the full creative process of how Nintendo goes through and makes their games. Of course, you hear like snippets here and there from like developers and this and that. And we've seen like elements of creation tools before presented by Nintendo as a company. I'm talking about things from the past, say like WarioWare DIY. I've tried little bits of things where you actually could essentially created your own mini games in the WarioWare sort of format. We've seen elements of that with Super Mario Maker, with trying to make your own Mario games and this and that. But this feels like a more sort of a gamble in regards to their approach because now they're trying to go through and have okay, there's the entirety of these type of game tools that will help you learn how to use and stuff. Now the only thing that really bars you is your creativity and what you do with them.
Mm-hmm.
So people have akin it to sort of like a Nintendo's answer to Dream. I
Yeah,
kind of feel like it's sort of like a little bit different in terms of that, where it's like it's more of a focused sort of aspect to where they go through the various guides and processes of what you want to go through and try to create. I have not even tried anything in terms of Dream in terms of his content, but I've seen content to where people have actually created entirety of like the actual like working games, like say recreating the entirety of say Mario 64 inside of the
yeah.
Dreams format. You know that is
Sonic
pretty mind
games.
blowing, or
Yeah,
Sonic games and this and that. But I'm fairly fascinated in terms of how well these tools are and how well these things are going to be represented in terms of how Nintendo and their creative process, how they go through and develop it more so than I am actually going through and trying to create some of this content. I'm more of the mind where I like to see what people do with these tools, if anything.
yeah,
Because you could make like the standard stuff that they've got already built in, like say a you want to do like a side scrolling like a shoot 'em up game or something. Okay. You want to do like a random puzzle game or a random like a like early access sort of like platforming game, you know? It's like you can do that, but I was more surprised with the announcement than anything. And that's because of how bold Nintendo was going with the approach of a game like Game Maker.
mm, yeah. I like the idea they didn't put it like in a direct because I feel like this game like if it was put in the middle of a direct somewhere, it just kind of
It
would have.
would have been buried.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect way of putting it. It would have been buried and yeah. Well, that was kind of a cool little thing there. What's the game called? Game Builder, whatever. like we would have completely forgot about. So putting it on its own, this is that perfect game for that. Kind of like just doing that and then just giving it its own bit, and only giving it about a month before it's out too. So not really getting too crazy with it, not letting the hype build too much. I think like definitely it's gonna be more of like a like Dreams is like a thing where like you can get crazy with that fucking thing. Like it's incredible. Like I've never played Dreams, but I love like especially when the game first came out. Some of the people did with that shit. Like you talk about, they made
Mm.
Mario 64 in its entirety, and like I don't think it's gonna be anywhere to the level of how crazy in depth it can get. But I think there could definitely be some cool stuff that's gonna come out of this. I think there's actually a couple people like they built a game in Dreams, and they got so inspired by making it in Dreams, they actually just made the game for real. And I think I can't remember the game, but either it's coming out soon or it just came out, like on
Mm-hmm.
PC and PlayStation, all that. Like just a game they made in Dreams. They turned out and they just they put it on Unreal Engine or something like that, and they just made it themselves. So that's incredible. Um, yeah, so I think it's definitely gonna be a cool little thing. I like to see like I think the problem with something like this, though, is like this is kind of one of those things. Be like it's to really like get a big fan base behind it and people really play these games. Is like I think the big problem with Dreams was like it came out and it was $30. I mean that's dirt cheap, for a game, and this is only be 30
It's
bucks.
an
But it's like
appropriate
the
price.
problem is
Yeah.
though is like it's kind of restricts your fan base because like I think a lot of people like I think for us like we probably would have been like more interested in checking out Dreams had it been free for us to go check out because like for me like Mario Maker I don't want to create levels, I want to check out some of the cool shit people are doing with it. Same with like Dreams, I don't want to make anything in Dreams, but I think it'd be awesome to just go in Dreams and look at shit and just like see some of the cool shit come out. I don't want to pay not interested enough to actually spend real money on it and do all that. And like maybe it was $10 or something, or a little cheaper, or if it came to PlayStation Plus or something like that. Like I think it would have been incredible if that game was like in the PlayStation Collection on PS5. And I feel like the same thing with this, where like maybe you charge for the game making part, but you can play the games for free or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, I'm curious how it's gonna work. And it's like I was talking to Just about this a while ago. About I was surprised how like and we were just talking about sales numbers for Nintendo, where it's like the Mario makers are only at like 7 million, where Wii U Deluxe, a Wii U launch game, has already sold over 11 million copies in
Mm.
just over a year on the market, where Mario Maker's been on the market for over a year longer, about year and a half, maybe a year and 15 months or so, uh, more in the market. It's already been outsold, and it's like Mario Maker kind of came and went. Like they were obviously still doing stuff later on, but they actually stopped making stuff sooner than they planned for it because like they stopped making extra content because just the fan base died off real fast. Like they talked like that kind of came out
Yep.
later on that like the last like they cut bait on it sooner than they planned on. And like I was talking to John, like I was shocked by that. I was talking to Justin. He's just like, as kids, it's like the people buy this, families buy this. Primarily, it's a family based game. That's the charm of Nintendo game, but it's also if it's fun for everybody. But it's like these games sell so well because it's family friendly and kids want to play it. But kids don't want to.
Yep.
Making the levels is too confusing for kids. It's like I remember with my ex, she'd have our nieces and nephews come over all the time, and like, hey, like I remember I bought Mario Kart or Mario Maker on launch day, and I played a little bit, and I'm like, I just put it in for them because they wanted to play Mario, but this is before Wii U Deluxe came out, and it's like or the Deluxe U, whatever it's called, came out, and they did not have any they did not like it because it was just like trying to figure out the whole progress of picking out levels and figuring out a level that's like some of these levels are like every level's different. You don't know what you're clicking on half the time for a level, and it's like these
Mm-hmm.
kids are 6, 7 years old. It's like it's way too difficult. So I'm wondering like how that's gonna like this is gonna work for like younger people and stuff like that. Like, is this gonna be too much for them? Is this like how that's gonna work? Because like we've seen like Mario Maker. I mean, it's fucking Mario. I mean, it's still sold over 7 million copies. Not like it didn't do nothing, but it's like it's nowhere near the success of what we expect from a Mario game these days.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how this is gonna do. This is a brand new IP for them. So I'm not trying to poo-poo it right away. I think this is gonna be really cool and like really incredible, and I think some cool shit's gonna come out of it. But I'm wondering like where like this is definitely gonna be I think more for the hardcore fan base of Nintendo. It's good and how the Nintendo charms are working this one. But and I want to point out I think a really fun thing. Uh, the project name for this before they named it Game Builder Garage was Labo number 5, which I just
Yeah, it was a Labo
yeah.
project.
which is the rumor's been out there lately. I meant to put this in our show a few weeks ago. I just forgot to do it, but like, but there's not really a lot going on with it. But like, it sounds like internally, like they're like kind of uh, Labo's ended for them for the most part. Like, but we've already like I think a lot of people kind of figure that because you've seen
We've already known that for a while now.
Labos. Like obviously the Lab, we were shocked that we got more than the two original launch Labo things. I think there was
Yeah,
like four. There was four altogether, and but like they have been like slashed in price multiple times. Uh,
and there's no Labo in places of like certain areas.
yeah, and like I'll see them all the time like on GameStop for like 15 $20 and stuff.
Yep.
Just trying to get rid of them at this point. Um, so I mean they sold for cardboard. I'm sure they made a lot of money off of it, but um, yeah, it obviously didn't take off like the way I thought they were. But so this obviously was a Labo thing at one point, but I just love the idea of Labo number five, and it just I very much like a. If there's already not a YouTube video out there of someone turning Mambo number five into Labo number five, I'm gonna be so pissed. Or no, someone didn't recreate a Short Circuit with the Labo robot outfit. I'm gonna be so I'll watch that movie. I'll buy a ticket to that movie of just of instead of John was it Johnny Five or number five, it's Labo
Yeah,
Five.
Johnny Five.
Johnny Five. Number Johnny Five is alive, but it's just them like in the fucking Labo robot suit. That would be incredible. I would fucking pay real money to go see that right now. That oh man, I'm so hyped for that. It's not even a real thing, probably. I'm looking this up. All right. Give me a second here. I'm sorry. I'm derailing on the show. I don't even know how I'm gonna search for this. Labo number five. Let's see what we get here.
This is a
No.
picture of Lou Bega with like all the Labo things
Oh my
side by
god.
side.
No, this is not turning out well for me, Gables. Uh, Labo short circuit. Nope. No.
Okay.
Well, I'm very disappointed, Gables. I'm disappointed in the internet.
What?
It didn't happen. My dreams, the thing I just created in my head and said out loud, it has not happened yet. Um, but getting off some Nintendo news here, Gables. Jumping in some PlayStation news here. Discord is now. PlayStation has invested money into Discord, and now they're integrating Discord into PlayStation in early 2022. So credible that just a couple months ago we were talking about possibly Microsoft buying Discord for $12 billion. Sony had talked about that. They had invested money, just like Nintendo or PlayStation has invested money in like Epic stuff like that. They're because that was kind of the thing going on was like it was like 50-50. Either Discord was gonna be bought by somebody, whether it was Facebook, Microsoft,
Mm-hmm.
or like a Twitch or something like that. I can't remember who else was involved. Um, but a lot of big tech companies were involved trying to buy it for the 10 to $15 billion range. Is like either they were gonna go public or they were gonna sell, and this sounds like they ended up they scoffed at some of the offers they were given, and it sounds like a lot of people are just investing money into them and instead. And it sounds like Sony has invested a lot of money into them, and now Discord is gonna be put into PlayStation, which this is something that we were talking about. We were really excited for when we were talking about the idea of Xbox buying them, about just putting Discord on Xbox, and just like this is something we were talking about years ago, where it's like even when the Switch came out, I was like, man, let's just you don't need to like with when they were talking about not having a voice chat system, right? You gotta use the app on your phone to use voice chats. Like, fucking just find a way to put Discord on it, or like even with just like all the consoles in general, just have Discord because that's the way to go.
Yep.
And just I mean, I hope this isn't exclusive to PlayStation. I don't think they haven't said whether or not it is, but I just want this to happen where like this just becomes a thing where everybody like all the everything just has it like
Right.
for consoles. Like this just needs to be the way to go. This is like the future, especially as crossplay becomes more of a thing.
Well, yeah, of
This is
course.
like the biggest issue. Was like, oh cool, I can play with my friend. I can play Fortnite or Rocket League on my PlayStation, and they can play on their PC. But yeah, but I can't talk to you, unless I do something. I use Discord on my phone, or I sit on my computer and play it on my computer or whatever. Um, this yeah, I love. I'm really excited for this. I love this. What's your thoughts on this, all Gables?
Well, pretty much kind of the same sentiment. It's like I'm glad that that Sony's going to incorporate some form of Discord in terms of the PlayStation 5's infrastructure and stuff. It's I don't think that it's going to be exclusive stuff. I think it's just more or less like kind of like an investment sort of thing, because quintessentially it would have to take quite a bit of money in order to secure Discord as a whole, especially if you're trying to get the entirety of the service on your platform. But I'm just happy that more people are going to be going through and benefiting in terms of Discord as a service, and also in terms of what the potential thing could lead in terms of the cross compatibility, sort of like what you were stating with that. Because yeah, it would be nice to have something on the PlayStation 5 in that regards, where party chat's fine and all of that, but at the same time, if you have something like Discord and stuff to where you get multiple users and stuff at, say, on PC or on Xbox or maybe potentially on Switch, who knows, get everybody in terms of this whole like universal sort of party chat or something like that without having to go just one form, like say on a PC, or like just PC only, or maybe Xbox only, or whatsoever. That sounds a lot more plausible to me. So I'm kind of interested in seeing what happens from there.
Yeah. But moving on to the part of the show where we're talking about what we've been playing this past week. You've already kind of
Yes.
touched on a little bit. You've been playing some more new Pokemon Snap. Before the show, you were talking about you played some other stuff too. Well, I want to
Yes.
hear about it. Gables. What you've been playing?
All right. So to finish up what I stated earlier on in the show, yes, I have been playing more new Pokemon Snap. I have actually beaten new Pokemon Snap. I actually finished it yesterday, but I have not completed the game. I'm really much debating back and forth whether if I want to do so at this moment in time. But
So, so you've like seen all the maps, but you haven't like got
yes,
called taken pictures of the Pokemon.
I haven't taken pictures of all the Pokemon, and I have not gone through the process of doing the whole stars on each Pokemon. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
that comes in and of itself. I'm not too sure the benefit of completing that will do. I would have to look up a guide or something like that in terms of if I would think it'd be worthwhile. But all in all, the entirety of my experience, I spent a good solid 12 hours
Okay.
playing the game in and of itself. So there is a lot more content inside this that people would have given this credit for. For the original Pokemon Snap, you could have finished it at least around 3 or 4 hours, 3 to 5 hours, depending upon if you wanted to go and do replay a certain couple of levels, some, or in terms of the difficulty you would have gotten in terms of getting specific events happening, especially when it came to legendaries, like say legendary birds like Articuno or Moltres or like Zapdos or some, or even like the photos with Mew. But for
Yep.
new Pokemon Snap, it's more or less going through different types of more elaborated courses, obviously, where it's like there'll be times when you'll have to go through a course and stuff with a day or a night cycle. There are specific events that generally happen in regards of like certain Pokemon events instead of a stage. Like for example, one of the later stages that I initially went through, there's like a cavern, right, that you go through, and there's like a bunch of Crobat, right, and the Crobat are all flying around and stuff, and this and that and stuff. Well, later on, if you go through and unlock like certain things, and you come back to it later, you'll see Crobat, right? But the thing is, there'll be one portion and stuff where there's actually a Crobat hanging upside down, sleeping and stuff, and you can go through and get pictures and stuff of that. But what I'm mainly alluding to, it's like it feels like it's not the same thing twice when you go through like a same area. So to give a good example of this, the beginning portion of the game you have a beach, right? That you go through and you go through a day and night cycle and stuff, and you have to level it up from level 1 to level 2 and stuff. So quintessentially the structure is you go with the level 1, level 2, say like a day or a night cycle and stuff, and then all of a sudden the professor will go through. It's like, oh hey, you'll go through and I'm able to make these type of orbs and stuff for you to throw and this and that. And so you earn a lot. You go back to the same stages, right? But at the same time, it'll be elaborated to where there'll be different Pokemon or different types of structure things that you have to go through and see this time around. So it feels more fresh when you go through the same course multiple times as opposed to just doing the same day cycle, which is the same type of format in this and of itself. I like it that way because it's less repetitive if you have to go back and backtrack to the earlier courses. I mean, yeah, I tried going through the same course at least a couple of different times because I wanted to try to get a couple different pictures of the same Pokemon. I mean, it was starting to get a little bit repetitive in that sort of aspect, but that was me going through and wanting to grind to try to get a level up from that course. But in regards to the whole terms of like everlasting, say, let's see, everlasting motivation to go through and continue on from your past previous point into like another stage and stuff, there's actually more incentive for you to go through and continue on. It keeps you more engaged in times of what you want to go through and take a picture of. Like, say, if you want to go through and take a pictures on the beach course and stuff and go day night cycles, and then everything switches once you get the orbs and this and of that, or if it changes once you get like an Illumina Pokemon and figure out how you get to go through and take a picture of that, each different course, all in all, there are 11 different courses inside of this game, a new Pokemon Snap, and there's actually one other course that you'll learn about in that regards, which is it's quintessentially like exploring the actual like research area in and of itself, right? So that you'll eventually get to go through and like research when you go and get further down the line in the game. But I enjoyed this game so much so that yeah, it actually prompted me to want to go through and finish the game. A lot of different Pokemon were presented. There were definitely Pokemon I did not even encounter, even though they are in there. Like I had a chance to like photograph some Pokemon inside of a desert sort of setting and stuff, but I could not get them in time, and so I missed them. But there are specific conditions you kind of have to meet in order to encounter new different Pokemon and stuff. But one thing that surprised me was like in terms of the Illumina Pokemon and stuff, the type of routines, the type of things you have to go through in order to try to take pictures of them. Like the very first one, I know that if you're like a couple hours in, you get to your first Illumina Pokemon. The first Pokemon you encounter is like a Meganium, right? And so it's like it's a grass type Pokemon. It's like a final evolution of like the Gen 2 starter and stuff from back then. And so quintessentially, you'll see it running about and stuff like that. But if you toss like a little bit of orb, you toss enough of them, and it'll start to glow, and you have to go through and try to take pictures of this exact moment. Now, for the longest of time, that was my highest score photo, which is like about 5,100 and some odd points just for that one photo. I've come close, but I did not even remotely get anywhere close to like getting like a higher score than that photo. Like I get close to the 5,000 point mark, but it's just a little frustrations in terms of trying to perfect my shots and try to
Hmm.
improve upon the perfection of like a specific type of star quality and this and that. That in and of itself, I kind of felt like was sort of a detriment inside the game's quality to where it more or less focused upon how many stars of a specific Pokemon that you can get for different poses and this and that, instead of like an overall quality of how maybe one picture is in terms of like going up in your score. I kind of found when I was going through taking a whole bunch of different photos of the same Pokemon, one of the biggest pain in the asses is I could not take multiple photos, like select multiple photos of like the same Pokemon with different stars.
Yeah, that was very
At
annoying.
at least with that in mind, I could have gotten done with a lot of that stuff quicker. Sure, I probably wouldn't have gotten as many points as a result because it will probably give me like a lump score or whatsoever. But give me the option to go through and complete that stuff quicker instead of having to go back and just do that same course and that same stage over again, which I didn't do a whole lot of. And I'm just want to let the listeners know it's like I didn't do a whole lot of that, but yet there's some quality of life things they could have improved personally in order to make this game a little bit more like a little bit more smooth of a transition in terms of ease of use. So that's definitely one. Another thing that I kind of like came across is when you're going through and you're saving photos to the album and stuff, sooner or later you're going to be starting to run out of room, right?
Oh wow. Okay.
What was interesting, what was interesting is there was actually a pop-up. It's like, hey, would you like to expand the storage and this and that. And it's not like anything like subtle either. It's like once you get like at least about a handful of photos you have left to save in your album, the pop-up actually appears to where, hey, you want to invest an extra 383 megabytes or something like that in order to try to fit some more photos. And so I clicked yes, right? And it expanded tremendously the amount of photos I could actually store in there. I think before you could only store like maybe about 40 at a time.
Yeah.
Once I did the expansion, I could store like an additional 400 something
Oh,
photos.
nice. Okay.
So I liked that. I thought it was a really interesting quirk that they had where you could actually go through and expand the storage that you wanted to do for your photos that you wanted to try to go forth and create.
I imagine it was so it goes on your SD card then.
Yes, yes, it
Okay.
goes onto your SD card of your system or even on the game's card itself in
Okay.
and of itself. So, from what I'm suspecting, it's more or less the save data in regards to the game in and of itself. But you have the option to transfer these photos to directly to your Switch's like main system thing where it stores the albums, the photos that you take. But you also have options to where you can send it to your phone. The Switch actually does
Oh
allow
yeah.
you to do that to where you can send it to your phone via like a QR sort of scan, or you can send it via like your SD card through your computer or whatsoever.
Wonder if you could put it in the cloud.
I'm not sure. I actually have never tried that or see the option to try to do that,
Yeah.
but I'm
Imagine you
sure
have to have the Nintendo
maybe.
Online thing. But I was just thinking about that. I'm like, I wonder if that's a thing or not.
That's a good question. I haven't really delved into it, but that's definitely something to go through and try to
Yeah.
research on.
I don't think Nintendo's about 10 years away from discovering the cloud though. So
Oh, true, true, and not being locked behind the paywall.
yeah. It's
But
like, you guys heard about this AOL? You guys, we got a 72-hour free trial here.
yes, hey, look, everybody, we constructed our game and we made it all in Windows XP.
We
Anyway,
can download this picture of this Pokemon in 3 days.
oh my god, I got so many flashbacks of like fucking back in the
All
early
right.
2000s.
Sable
Okay.
Playboy. I'll be back. I'm going to put this in on Friday, and by Sunday, I'll have the full picture.
oh, but I got to admit, Tyler, I've had so much fun playing new Pokemon Snap. I feel like, in terms of quality, that there are forms that are better than the original game. Obviously, the original game still great. You know, this game
Yeah.
I feel in some aspects is better than that, but there are some things that could have improved to make it like a fully superior version over the original. Damn this lamp. Anyway.
Stephen King's new book, Gables gets attacked by a killer lamp.
oh boy. But if I had to rate this game solid, I would actually give this game like close to around a 9 out of 10
Okay.
because the interest is there. I love doing photography stuff in general. I did love going through and photographing a lot of different Pokemon in their environments. There was a lot of like variety in terms of where I could go, what I could do. Try to experiment in terms of throwing fluff fruit at Pokemon, or in terms of like experimenting, say like throwing orbs at specific plants in order to get certain Pokemon to gather to from together, or even like taking photos at the exact moment and stuff, where it's a lot of funny ass moments tend to happen. Because I touched last week in terms of the spinner rack, I tossed a fluff fruit at it, and all of a sudden it just had its hands up like this, like oh, like it was angry. But I did have moments of stuff where I actually had him a champ. Like look at me while I was like going through and like I played music right, and it was looking at me right, and it was just doing this whole flexing motion and stuff like this,
Nice.
and it was just kind of hilarious. It was actually doing like sort of like a meditative pose, so it's like it has eyes closed. He's just raising his arms like this, and all of a sudden he just goes all forward and just starts flexing his like muscles and stuff like that. And I got the exact photo right there and of itself, and I thought that was a fucking cool ass like
You're
photo.
a sexy beast, baby. Yeah.
But a lot of the joy for me was like finding which Pokemon was inside of this game and discovering what they were, like where they were, and like what they were doing. And I feel that anyone that even has remote interest in playing Pokemon games should invest and just play it. Because even though it's a side game, it looks better than the main like Pokemon games so far. It definitely has that replayability to where I'm interested in going back and wanting to play it. And on top of that, it makes me excited for what eventual Pokemon games are going to be coming out not only later this year but early next year.
Yeah. 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 I'm with you on some of the like. I'm like I said, I'm only a few hours in. I think I'm on the. I got to the fourth level,
Right.
of you can do, and like, I'm definitely enjoying it. I think, but I'm with you. Like that was my big complaint from last week is kind of still the same, where it's like the whole idea of like only being able to pick one Pokemon per after every level completion, even though you might have a 1, 2, and 3 star. It's like, okay, well, I might never get this 3 star again, but this 1 star might be worth more points. And that's why I don't really understand the star system too, where it's like, all right, I have like a 3 star that's worth 2,000 points, but I have this
Yep.
one star that's worth 4,000 points. I'm like, what the
Yep. It
what?
does not make that clear either.
No,
It
it's
doesn't
like
go through
I
quality.
I understand. Okay, so it's doing something different in this picture. Like, oh, this I don't know, Psyduck is eating the fruit here, and this is a 3 star, but you have a picture of him just swimming, and it's worth a 2 star, but the but him swimming that's a 2 star is 4,000 points, but him eating this apple, which is a unique thing, so it makes it a 3 star, is only worth 1,500 points. I'm like, this doesn't make
Yes.
any fucking sense to me. It's like,
No, it doesn't make any sense. And it's really consistent to the way how they explain it in terms of that. But honestly, at that point, it's almost the same type of problems we'd had in the original Pokemon
yeah,
Snap, where some pictures you would think would look fantastic, but it was only worth a certain amount of points
yeah,
because it wasn't a specific exact thing that they wanted you to go through and picture.
yeah.
And that feels like elements of that have come back in terms of new Pokemon Snap. But it's like what you say, the consistency of the scoring does not make any fucking sense to me.
Yeah, but I mean, if it doesn't make any sense, it's very frustrating. But on top of that, where it's like what you were saying, where it's like I can only pick one of these pictures, even though I have 3 different star levels of these pictures. Like, yeah, I think that should be you talking about quality of life. And this is like my artificial padding I was talking about last week, where it's like that
Yep.
is a way of like artificially making the game longer. It's like, well, you got a 1, 2, and 3 star, but you got to replay this level at least 2 more times on this level on this day or night cycle to get
Another
that
7 minutes.
1 star and then get
Yes.
that 2 star thing. And it's like I'm not. This isn't a game I feel like I'm going to be playing. Um, I definitely want to get back to playing it. Obviously, just being busy this week and then RE8 taking over my time. But
I
uh,
definitely feel it's worth a finish.
yeah, this is
You know.
definitely something I'm going to go back and I'm going to at least finish all the levels. But it's not going to be something. I'm not. I don't see myself like I did with the first one where I excuse me, fucking IPAs, man. I tell you, my God, where I'm not gonna like 100% it. Obviously, this game has a lot more content in it, for better or
Right.
worse. Maybe this game, I feel like maybe this game would be better if it was more of a 6 to 8 hour experience than what sounds like 12 to 20 hour experience. Um, so yeah, but is there anything else you've been playing, Gables?
Yes, actually. I played another game and I actually messaged you also over Instagram about it because funny enough, you were playing this game last week too, and that's
Yep.
Rain on Your Parade.
Yes. Yes. It's fun. I meant to talk to you about it last week before we recorded because I was like, I've seen there was some Twitter buzz about it a week or so ago, um, and a lot of people were liking it. And I was like, okay, I'm like, I want to. It's on Game Pass. I want to check it out. I watched the trailer for it. I didn't get a chance to play it before we recorded last week, but I watched the trailer for it before we recorded, and I was like, oh man, this looks like a Gables game right here if I've ever seen one. So go ahead and talk about it.
Well, you're definitely right upon that. How I learned about it was entirely different to where I was watching a YouTuber kind of recommend like specific, say, Switch games that would eventually, underrated Switch games, and not a lot of people would actually went through and tried that were released this year, and that was one of those games. And so I was looking upon Game Pass, like, oh, Rain on Your Parade, that's definitely a game I wanted to try. This looks interesting. And oh boy, yeah, this was an interesting game.
Yeah, it just
Oh
came
my
out like two
gosh.
weeks ago too, so this is a new game.
Yeah, it came out 2 weeks ago, and let me tell you stuff. It definitely provided me with enough content from beginning to end and stuff in order for me to go through. I beat this game. Yeah,
Wow.
I did
Okay. How
beat this
long is
game
it?
too. Um, Honestly, this game, even with like if you wanted to go through and collect the stars, I want to say it's at least if you want to complete it 3 to 4 hours long.
Oh, that sounds perfect. Okay. I was
Well,
wondering because
actually,
I
it's
kind of went through the level. I went through the world. I kind of just flew around. Like you can only do it as you beat them, but I was like, you can still travel the whole world. And I was like, oh my god, there's a
yes,
lot of levels. This, but like yeah, like
yes,
each
I actually
level's
did the same thing. I
okay.
thought it was going to be a lot longer than what it was,
Yeah.
but when I was getting stuck on certain puzzles and stuff, I actually looked up a little bit of like a YouTube like walkthrough, and I realized this game's only like maybe 2 hours or so, two or
Yeah.
three
Okay.
hours long.
Well, I guess each level's like maybe a minute, two at max.
Like I don't know how like far you have gotten inside of this game,
Like 10 levels
but
maybe.
okay, 10 levels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something, man. It's like there are definitely a lot of fun, interesting puzzles in this regards. Like from raining on people to like say earning these different power ups, say like a tornado, like a
Yeah.
blizzard
It's
or something
basically
like that.
Untitled Goose Game, but you're cloud that rains on people.
Yes, exactly. You pretty much like screw around with people in that regards. there are actually references to other video games inside of this game too.
Yeah, I remember that. A couple of them.
The first one that I tripped apart, I immediately messaged you and it's like, hey, have you heard about this game? Because I was playing through the reference to Metal Gear Solid. There's a
Really?
reference of Metal Gear Solid inside of this
Okay.
game.
I don't think I got that far then. I remember the little clip shows up, the like the paper clip shows up. And he's like, I'm
Mhm.
just here to tell you about this, and it's like making fun of like the old PC paper clip that used to show up on our old Windows 98 shit. I don't remember that. I don't know. Maybe I just
Dude,
forgot about the Metal Gear thing. I don't know.
I'll say this right now. I said, yeah, there is a reference to Metal Gear Solid, but I'm not going to tell you what exactly
Okay.
happens inside of this
Okay.
level and what exactly you could do.
Oh
But
boy.
let me just say, it's definitely right up your alley.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get back to this game now too. Fuck my. I
Oh,
went from
oh my
having
god.
nothing to play the last 3 months to having like 4 games drop in my lap before Mass Effect comes out next week.
So you know what the fun thing about it is? The entirety of this game is told through the perspective of like a grandpa to like
Hmm.
his grandchild and stuff like that. And so he has to go through and like say a lot of these things about this cloud, and the whole concept of this cloud is going all the way to Seattle
Yeah.
and stuff and doing this stuff and that stuff and how the cloud does this and how the cloud does that, and all of a sudden how like he has to face off against this enemy that is not like rain or something at all. And it's definitely one of those lighthearted games that definitely has that Untitled Goose Game sort of feel to it, where it's like it just feels enjoyable, just like wrecking shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know
But
if it's
once,
a. It's not as good. I don't think. I think. I mean, like I said, I haven't put as much time in like Untitled Goose Game I finished, but even that was like a 2 hour game. But like, I feel like the peaks of Untitled Goose Game are still the best. Or I guess the beaks of Untitled Goose Game are the best. Are better. But yeah, I still. I'd like I said, I only played maybe a half an hour, but I was really enjoying it.
I actually was fairly surprised how much I was enjoying it because it kind of presents itself sort of like one of those basic games that you would like see on say a Steam or like a PlayStation thing where it's not a lot of money put into it, but at the same time you would still like maybe see some bit of rough around the edges sort of things like that. But what was interesting is trying to go through and like see what actually would mix in regards to what you could go through in rain. Like you could use water and stuff to rain, but there are some puzzles where you actually pick up coffee, you can pick up
No.
oil and stuff like that. There's actually levels to where the cloud is constructed around. You have to burn buildings down, right?
Oh
You as a
shit.
cloud, and so you have to. There's actually little patches of you can pick up oil. You can spread oil around the room and stuff like that. And if you use like the thunder ability or like the little thunder ability, you can actually create fire. It just fucking just go through and destroy shit.
I like some of the hats you get in that game too. You can put hats in your cloud.
Dude, I went through the entirety with one hat, and it was a top hat.
I That's what I put on there immediately. As soon as I unlocked the top hat, I'm like, I'm putting that fucking thing
I
on.
didn't go with any other hat. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, I'm doing a top hat.
that's awesome.
A smiling cloud with a top hat,
Hmm.
just raining
And you
thunderbolts
can
and
you can change
tornadoes.
his face too. You can make him like an angry cloud, or you can actually like erase his entire face if you want to. Which I thought was
Oh,
kind of cool.
okay, that would be actually more hilarious. It's like it's just a random cloud, just like
Yeah,
no face, just like going.
yeah,
Oh man, yeah, I definitely enjoyed this game from beginning to end. There definitely are some creative levels to this that I feel like people should experience. Honestly, this is the type of game where it's like a good filler game between like a big one big title to another big title. I mean, I came off of like finishing Ratchet and Clank, completing that and stuff, and like I was playing a bit of new Pokemon Snap, and all of a sudden, ran your parade. I played right in the middle of this stuff, and I enjoyed the hell out of this game for what it was. There's one level that is longer than the entirety of like a lot of the other levels in this game, but I loved how it parodies a lot of other types of like gaming stuff. But yeah, there are plenty of game references. There's actually plenty of like game stuff that you would not expect inside of this. But the puzzles and how you had to go through and earn these different abilities, it's definitely a blast. And I could see why people have been talking about Rain on Your Parade.
yeah, yeah. I definitely that's another one I need to get back to. My I want yeah my pile of shame is growing already. So yeah. Anything
Well,
else, Kibbles?
no.
Okay.
Actually, what have you been playing, Tyler?
So I've kind of tipped my hat already, my top hat to it already. Finally been jumping into Resident Evil 8. Like I said, came home late last night after work and then having dinner with my parents and played it for a little bit. And then jumped into it today and ended up putting about 5 hours into it today. Um,
Wow.
so that's a good stretch for me for it's some breaks. It was probably like over an 8 hour stretch. I mean, taking some breaks obviously in between there, but basically my day, did all my shit, clean house, fucking uh, fed Louis. I don't know why I said that. I always feed him every day. Did laundry, shit like that. Sat down, started playing this, and I am enjoying the fuck out of this game. Way more than I thought. Like, I'm a fan of the Resident Evil games. I'm like a hardcore fan. Like, even I mean, I've talked about it over the past year where it's like, I didn't. I bought Resident Evil 7 on day one. I remember talking about it. I was like, when that came out, I was just a really rough stretch of work where I was burnt out, and I'm like, this is not the game I want to be playing. Resident Evil 7. That game was a lot more horror centric too, more of a scary, lean more on the scary side. Um, and this is not the game I need to be playing right now. And finally, didn't go back and play it. Like this is a game I was like, I'll go play it in the summer or whatever when things are a little less hectic. And it took me until last spring, I want to say last summer, where I sat down and finally went back and played Resident Evil 7. I beat it in a whole fucking day. It was only like 5 hours for me to beat it, but and I went back and I finally I had the same issue with Resident Evil 2 when that came out, where it was like, it's just January is a bad time for me for games to come out apparently because it's rough for work. But same thing. I came out in January 2019. And I went back and I played it last spring as well. Resident Evil 3, went back and played it. You and I played Resident Evil 6 on Extra Life, and I've beaten the other two campaigns previously, and then finally I beat the last campaign on there with
Yep.
you. So I officially could say at that point I have now beaten. I beat 4 Resident Evil games last year, and
Yeah.
I have officially, not including 0, but of the 7 mainline ones at this point. I'm gonna adjust myself here. Sorry. I have now beaten every mainline Resident Evil game. I beat 2 Revelation games as well. But yeah. So and it's like I enjoy the games for what they are. I'm like it's not like I'm not. This isn't like I'm not fanboy number one, or I'm not like a crazy like I don't really understand the lore. I'm not really deep diving into that. But this is I'm enjoying this way more than I have any. It's really hooked me, unlike any other ones I've. Where every single one before I've like I said Resident Evil 4 obviously was my favorite games of all time. Like I've talked about it before, where I used to just beat that game over and over again, like give myself different challenges. Like I'm gonna beat this game with killing less than 50 enemies. Or I'm gonna beat this game by this time with killing more than 1,000. Or I'm gonna beat this game by only using the infinite rocket launcher or whatever. Well, I always have goals in mind. I beat that game probably 15, 20 times, no joke. But I got down to the point where I'd beat that game in like a few hours, a couple hours. Um,
Mm.
and this one, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm enjoying this one more. And they talk about like the Resident Evil 4 is more of a, it's kind of like what they're using as like the example for this game. And you definitely feel that way. Like this game is called Resident Evil 8 Village, Resident Evil Village, being a lot of it taking place in a village, and just it gives you more of that kind
Right.
of that feedback, and that takes you back to that time of Resident Evil 4. Now, I think that's a big point of why. And like they're using more of the style of 4 as well, where like you can upgrade your weapons. And it's not like you can find upgrades for your weapons. Like you can find upgrades for them as well, but you can also buy upgrades for your stuff as well. And there's a merchant, like he even at one point asked me, or told me he'd buy it at a high price, which I thought was really funny. And he's like, ha ha ha. He's like, I used to have a friend that would say that. And I thought that was really clever and that was really funny. I like that moment. But it's definitely really feeding into that more and more. Um, it's not really as scary, and I'll get to this. But aside from one caveat, which I'll get to in a second. I'm gonna try to talk about because these are the kind of games you don't really want to get too deep dive into the story elements or some of the experiences because it's gonna spoil. I mean, a lot of this game is surprises and stuff like not the story's top notch or anything like that, but it's definitely more about the moment and experiencing some of the shit and like the surprises of like it's still a horror game in a sense, but yeah, I've really liked the combat feels good. Like some of the elements you jump into, like the first time, like it starts off with like you play as Ethan Winters, who's awful, awful. Like, I don't normally complain about voice acting, and I heard a lot of people complain about him to begin with, and it's just like it's just so bad. It's so generic. It's like it feels like someone was just reading the lines out loud for the first time, and then he's like, "All right, that works. We'll go with that." It's like, wait, I didn't get it. I didn't act. I just read the lines. Like, why are we cutting? What we were recording? Why? But he's bad. But everybody else is like, not to say everybody else is top notch, but it's like compared to him, like it's fucking Last of Us level acting here, or Lord of the Rings level acting compared to the guy that does Ethan Winters. But yeah, like I'm enjoying some of the set pieces and the characters. Like the first time you get to the village and you like jump in, you like meet the lichens, the werewolves in this game, is brutal. And it's oh man, it definitely, and like some of the vampires you meet, it's definitely like it's not as like the big complaints about 5 and 6 where it's like, oh, we're gonna be Gears of War, but also still be it's gonna be bullet spongy as hell, but also items will be very limited, and items are limited. But I also feel like I'm at a point where like you can craft your own items, which you can do in 7 as well. But like you can craft your items, and I feel like, and I'm doing the thing where like I'm exploring everything. Like you can see on your map when you look at your map, it'll show you all the rooms you go in, all the buildings you go in. It'll be, if it's red, that means there's still something in there you missed. Whether it's a diamond hanging on the wall, which is something that was in Resident Evil 4, or maybe a lockpick or something, because you have to find lockpicks in the game, which is to unlock a thing. But yeah, like I've been going through, and like every time, like it all kind of circles back to like the village is kind of like the main hub of the game, like kind of like a Metroidvania where it always takes you back. Like everything always leads back to one room or one area, and it's like every time you go through a section, you get more stuff. You can explore more in the village, and every time I'm like, before I go on to the next thing, I'm doing everything I can in the village. I'm finding all of like the valuable items, or I'm finding more things to craft, or more ammo or stuff like that. And it's just like I'm upgrading all my weapons. Like I'm really like, it's got that hooks in me. Like I think that's part of it. Like I'm not a big Metroidvania fan, like the 2D style Metroid fan, but I love some of my favorite games I played in the last generation have been kind of that follow that style though of a Metroidvania, where it's like more of the action game, like a God of War, or like the Tomb Raider games, stuff like that. Like that kind of follow that platform, that kind of that loop of the game. But yeah, like getting into the I can't say the name of the big lady that we all love. Demetrius. I can't remember. They finally gave like said out loud how you say it, and I can't say it. But like going in that castle for the first time, oh my god, it's awesome. And some of the like elements, like she follows you all throughout the house and shit like that. Some of the love, like I hated that with Mr. X and the in 2, and like the tyrant Nemesis in 3. I didn't like that. And this one was a little different. This game was, I died a lot in that part, and I thought like this game is like Dark Souls hard. But it come to find out, you're not supposed to run towards the lady. You're supposed to run away from her. I didn't know that. I just kept running at her. I'm like, oh yay, it's her, and I ran to her. I'm like, yes, pick me up, throw me around. Oh no, she's murdering me. Yeah, I didn't know. I'm like, step on me, mommy, and she did. But it made you start over, which I'm like, why am I starting over? I thought I was doing the thing. But anyways, once I found out you're supposed to run away from her in fear, not run towards her in excitement and horniness, it changed the game for me. But yeah, I really enjoyed that part. But so kind of the way it works out, it's kind of like I'm not saying Metal Gear invented this style, but it's like kind of like the style like what you would see in the Metal Gear Solid games, at least the first 4, where it's like there's like these like here's all these bad guys, and here's kind of their backstories, and you're gonna go through this section and fight them, and they're all builds to like a boss fight. And that's kind of the idea. Like there's like the 4 main bad guys, and I've beaten 2 of the 4 right now so far. And here's a not so fun fact about me, Gables. One of my biggest like fears and like not video games but movies is like dolls. Dolls scare the shit out of me. And now I'm not talking about Chucky. Like Chucky's hilarious. That doesn't scare me. That ain't funny. Like not to say like Justin, when I was a kid, he had a Chucky doll, like an actual like really expensive version of a Chucky doll. When we were kids, I used to spend the night at his house, and I fucking hated it because he had the fucking Chucky doll. And he didn't put it in the closet. He just had it out. And it's funny, like one of his daughters actually like carried it around like it was like her brother, like when she was like 3 or 4. Like I was terrified, and I'm in my mid-20s at this point, and she's like, She's just carrying around all willy nilly like that. Like I was just like crazy. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? What the fuck? Really? Wow.
I can actually see like that happening and some people
Yeah.
just freaking out because
It
of
didn't
it.
even like she didn't even recognize it as something so scary. She's recognized it as a doll, and I'm
Yep.
like internally freaking out, but she's like, do like no fucking problems in the world. And I was like, what the fuck? Uh, but yeah, so um, there's so one of the bad guys in this game is a doll, like an evil doll, and they turn
Right.
like so like the in like one section it's like the rest of the game like it's a first person shooter game. It's a horror first person shooter, so obviously ammo is limited, stuff like that. But in this part, they actually kind of minor spoilers. They take all your weapons away from you, and it
Oh.
turns into like a kind of like an Outlast style game.
Oh, hey, there you go.
And in this section, and I've talked about it previously where it's like I feel like I'm chasing the dragon of Outlast for a long time, where it's like I'm trying to find games that kind of like Outlast was the first game I played in that style. I know it's not the first game to do it, but it was the first one I played. And you and I both love that game. I love the game,
Yes.
and I played other games that have been pretty good to subpar. Like Soma comes to mind. I played a lot of games that I'm like, this is just bad, you know. Um, Even like Outlast 2 didn't do it for me and stuff like that. But it's just like I've been trying to chase that dragon, getting that feeling because I love those style of games. It's just very few actually connect with me. And this part for what is supposed to be a Resident Evil game that's a first person uh, thriller shooter game that turned into like no, this part like you don't have any weapons, you have nothing to protect yourself with, and you gotta fucking hide from things, you gotta solve puzzles, you gotta go fucking, it's dark as shit, and on top of that, your biggest fear, Tyler, of fucking dolls murderous dolls coming to life, it was no joke the most terrifying experience in my adult life, maybe my entire life, of playing a video game. I was like, get the get the fucking bed, fuck, come, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Like I was like legit freaking the fuck out, like spasms, jumping down, like yelling at the TV. Like I was freaking the fuck out. This whole section, it was a nightmare. Um, and it, yeah, not, it was awesome. I
Oh
liked it a lot,
no.
and I appreciate the fuck out of it. This is exactly is the thing I didn't know I wanted from this game, but it's definitely a thing I've wanted for games in a long time, and they pulled it off masterfully. Yeah, so I'm like I said, I spent basically I mean, it's been a perfect day for it. It's cold, windy, and rainy outside. Perfect day to sit inside, fucking play some fucking video games. This came out at a perfect time for me. It's just I can't wait to jump back into it. I don't know how far I'm into the game. I'm probably like halfway or so. I've heard you could beat the game 8 to 12 hours. More like 8 if you like kind of streamline through it. But I'm like I said, I'm like every time I get back to the village or I'm like I get into a room and I see it's still red, I'm searching everything, trying to find all the shit. So like I'm doing pretty good on money. I've upgraded all my weapons are upgraded as high as they can be for right now. You gotta like do something. You can also hunt in the game. You can like you find
Oh.
pigs or fish, and you use that to upgrade like your health or your defense, or you can move faster, stuff like that. So like I'm every time I get through a section, or I won't move on to the next section until I do everything I can, uh, and before I move on. Like so, it's yeah, I'm enjoying this way more than any other Resident Evil game ever before. Well, since 4. So yeah, and that's saying something to me because Resident Evil 4 is legitimately top 5 favorite games of all time. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm playing. I'm gonna like I said, I'm hoping I'm gonna jump back into it. Tomorrow's Mother's Day, but I'm sure I'm gonna. I don't think we're doing anything until later. I am getting the second shot tomorrow, so I'm a little nervous about that. I don't know how it's
Ah.
gonna work out for me. Hopefully, I'm not gonna be too affected by it and not be on my deathbed. But yeah, I'm can't wait to get back to it. I do need to put a bow on this game though before fucking Friday because Mass Effect baby. So
Oh, there
that's
you
gonna be
go.
exciting. And I got a 4-day weekend next weekend, so that's
There
gonna be
you
fun
go.
too. Yeah, gonna be a lot of Mass Effect next week. But yeah, Gables, I think that's gonna do it for us this week. Well, you got almost 2 hours again. Uh, we got a lot of shit to say. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We are on not on everything right now. We are on a couple things, but that's growing every day, hopefully. But for right now, YouTube, Twitch is the best ways to find us. Like I said, we're on Spotify, Audible, Podbean. Hopefully, we'll be on Google Podcasts and Apple sometime this week, and that will help us a lot too. But yeah, so but like I said, if you are a listener, whether you're new or old, please go to all those places, look us up, look up our new feeds. You can find our old feeds. Ignore those ones. I don't know how to get rid of those ones. I've looked into it. I can't figure out how to take them down. But you find our new ones. Please rate, subscribe, follow, click the bell, share. Everything you do, really, 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 really appreciate it. Comment as well. Tell us you like us. Give us a little ego boost that we need. But I was your host. I was Tyler.
And I've been Colonel Gables. Until next time, everyone, have yourself a fun time. But most importantly, thank you for listening to another fun filled episode of the Drunk-Nerds podcast.
And hey, Gables.
Yep.
Too sweet, baby.
Too sweet, man.
See ya. Took it.
Just dangling.
Bye, guys.
And bye.